Good afternoon. It is July 3rd, 2025. My name is Garrett Harvey. In this video, we're going to be talking about the tropics closer to home and then also what's going on in terms of impacts and for the 4th of July. And then let's look ahead into the tropics through the next several days or so. So this is a true color satellite imagery. This is GOES 19, the newest satellite. And we see here this decaying installed front is located along here. We have northwesterly winds and also southwesterly winds, and where these winds kind of meet with each other, there's your front. It's producing showers and thunderstorms along that front itself, and then in this window right here is going to be the best chance for tropical development. That's outside of the front, and the winds are really not as defined there. We really can't say that there's a front there, so in that aspect, that's going to be your best chance for tropical development. The reason why we have tropical development outside of the front is because you cannot have a tropical system attached to a front. That is a extratropical system is when it is connected to a front. An extratropical system is where you have a front attached to a low pressure system. And so for tropics, we cannot have a front attached to a low pressure system in order for it to be a tropical system or even a subtropical system. But in this general region, we see that there's a lot of showers and thunderstorms ongoing this morning and this afternoon across Florida, and these showers and thunderstorms will continue through the next few days, and unfortunately impacting those who may have 4th of July plans. As I've said on my Facebook page, you have to have a backup plan in case storms are ongoing during the morning and afternoon hours. If you wanted to go to the beach, if you wanted to be on the boat, on the water, you have to have an indoor backup plan. That way you can at least celebrate and have a good time while being indoors. Hopefully these storms are not as widespread as what we're thinking, but in the event that they are widespread, backup plans are good to have for indoor plans. And it's just going to be a rainy few days across Florida, where some areas could see several inches of rain and even flooding in some areas that are prone to flooding as well. So looking at the National Hurricane Center, there is a 60% chance of tropical development within the next 7 days, specifically off the coast of Florida, and it is going to be moving toward the northeast. Granted, it'll be slow movement, but it will be away from Florida. But those who are in the Carolinas and Georgia coastlines should monitor the forecast, as it could inch closer to those coastlines and may bring some unsettled weather for a few days or so. But this does have a 20% chance of forming within the next 48 hours or so. If we look at the European model's precipitation type, and also showing the pressures, we'll see that there's a lot of showers and thunderstorms ongoing in Florida, and this is the 4th of July. We do see showers and thunderstorms across the Florida peninsula, and we do see somewhat lowering pressures. And if I put this is a 1014 millibar contour line, and so that's a region of lower pressure. If I continue to put this in loop, that does lower. This is now a 1012 contour line. And so this is the general area of the low pressure system. And notice how it is farther away from Florida compared to the previous days. So it is going to be moving toward the northeast. That's what the European model is showing. Again, it could bring some unsettled weather to the coastal Carolina regions, specifically South Carolina and North Carolina. And this could be moving toward the northeast, and like I said, could bring some impacts through the next few days or so. But as we move farther out, this does not have much effect on Florida anymore, just a standard afternoon showers and thunderstorms. We look at the GFS model, and we can see that it is not necessarily as defined as what the European model shows, but we do see this general low pressure kind of forming sometime on July 6th or so, and continuing moves toward the northeast and possibly impacting coastal Carolina regions. Now, we look at the cyclonic relative vorticity. Again, this shows us the twisting and the spinning mechanisms in the atmosphere closer in the mid-levels, and we see that there's this general spin. And again, this is a good idea of where this low pressure would be located. We have the front along here. If I continue to put this in loop, notice how this low pressure system deattaches to the front. It becomes its own entity. And so it moves toward the northeast. This trough of lower pressure here, this trough will help pick it up and kind of take it out to sea. And we'll see that here. It gets taken up by the trough. The trough eats it up, and it could become its own entity. Again, it could be a subtropical system, but it would be out to sea and pretty much have no impacts on the United States itself. and we look at the GFS run, we'll see that it's not necessarily as defined, but as we continue through this model run, we'll see that it tries to organize a little bit more. But then, like I said, we do see this kind of weak trough developing somewhere along the northeastern United States and also into Canada. And this trough will pretty much take it up, put it out to sea, and again, no impacts for the United States after July 7th. And looking at how much rain could fall within the next 7 days or so, we do see that there's a lot more shower and thunderstorm activity well offshore the United States, and that we could see anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain, specifically across the Florida Peninsula, and the heaviest rain concentration looks to be around the west central Florida regions. If the system were to get a little bit closer to the Carolina regions, we could see these values bump up a little bit, but overall not expecting a whole lot in terms of widespread flooding or widespread heavy rainfall amounts in those general regions. Now, looking ahead with the tropics, we are expecting, around this time we expect a little bit more tropical cyclone activity, but with the European model run, we have our little homegrown system in here that's going to be doing its own thing, moving out to sea or moving, away from us. But we see that there's really not a whole lot of activity, even through 8 days with the European model run. There's really nothing going on. Now, you might be asking yourselves, why is that the case? And the reasoning why is, one, we have a pretty powerful subtropical high, and the subtropical high is pretty much kind of causing these systems to move toward the west. And you might be asking yourselves, well, why does that matter? There's a lot of wind shear currently in the main development region, and this is where the main development region is located. And there's also a lot of wind shear in the Caribbean. And with those two being the areas where we want to see any sort of tropical development, there's really not anything. The wind shear is pretty much going to rip this thing apart if anything were to try to form. So continue to look at this for the next several days. We'll see that there's still a fair amount of wind shear, and anything that if any tropical wave comes off of Africa, it's going to pretty much struggle because the wind shear will pretty much rip it apart. So that's why the tropics are rather quiet through these next several days, and that's a good thing. We don't like tropical activity. Any tropical activity that forms, we wanted to stay away from any sort of land. Honestly, any sort of development would be if anything were to develop, it would be around this general region because there's not a lot of wind shear, and honestly, that's going to be moving away from the United States as well, and also Bermuda as well. But either way, all is looking well in the tropics, and anything that does form, like I said, would be away from us or would be very much in the struggle bus category. It would struggle to form and even try to organize into something further. But for right now, that's all I have in this video. Like I said, we'll have impacts for 4th of July across Florida, and this low pressure system that could develop may move into the coastal Carolina regions, but not bringing much impacts besides some additional showers and thunderstorms. But that's it for right now. If you have any questions, let me know. If anything wasn't clear, also let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. Take care and have a good 4th of July.